Okay, so today is going to be about the robot AI, the post-apocalyptic robot children. The criteria was that the robots are deteriorated and they're bugs. They have bugs in their programming because of all the humans are gone. That the humans, the humans worked on them, and the apocalypse happened, humans went underground, and the robot children stayed above ground, but they were still intelligent AI, and they still functioned outside of the human influence, making their own gangs, their own tribes. And what happened is that they eventually went into war against each other, and so the use of, weaponry was just standard, and their programming deteriorated, their language systems deteriorated. They have some stuff left behind from what humans programmed them to do, like bedtime or breakfast or wearing clothes or learning how to be companions and needing a companion human to stick beside and help. So they're programmed to love, and now the humans are all gone, so they're kind of just helping each other out and compensating for the lack of the human. But because of their programming deteriorated over hundreds of years, they are really buggy, and some of them, each bug makes the robot behave differently. Some behave violently, some are all quirky, and I was wondering and waiting to see someone kind of bring a concept into that, how each one is quirky. Maybe one of them, because of their bugs, just has an affinity for pink, and their gun is pink, everything is pink, everything about them is pink. You have age groups, they're children, so between like 0 age, like infant, like crawling baby, or all the way up to like age 12, so preteen. And I'm looking for that. I'm going to be looking for whether or not they look like children. So the most important thing is, do they have child proportions? Does it look like they are in a desert? So let's read the brief really quickly. Far into the future, after mankind burrowed beneath the Earth's surface in the landscape of nuclear fallout and almost constant desert heat, one of man's inventions still thrives. AI robot children have survived and now live in scattered colonies across the continent. They were programmed to be companions for mankind's children. After years of expired programming and bad bugs, some of the children form gangs across the desert for survival. However, constant rivalry rages between the different age groups. Equipped with all manners of makeshift artillery formed from the debris of ancient wars, robots fight head-to-head across the desert plains. Some are armed with machetes and spears, while others are armed with highly effective but faulty machine guns and RPGs. More and more groups and gangs rise and fall, fighting for the ownership of the oil parks across the continent. So very, very basic premise. There's no great adventure or anything. It's just for the sake of designing the characters, the original pitch that you're creating concepts for. And this is really what sells stuff. This is what sells games, just that original pitch and that concept art that you guys work with, like how close you are to the original description, how you illustrate the world of the character, and I'm really looking for that. So we're looking for these major, maybe there's more than these, but these are starting off. We're looking for child proportions, making sure that they look like children and they don't look like adults or look like some sort of weird uncanny like a mixed age group in the body types or body proportions. Then we've got whether or not it looks like they're from the desert or they're in the desert. Do they look deteriorated internally and externally? So the bad bugs, they look like they're quirky or just twisted or crazy, or do they look like they have do they look like they wig out really easily? And then post-apocalyptic, do you have any of the post-apocalyptic mise-en-scène, I guess, the prop work, the symbols, the costuming? Does it look like post-apocalyptic makeshift artillery? Does it look like recycled doll clothing that they're wearing? Like hand-me-down clothing? Does it look like that? Do they look like basically the Lost Kids? And these are some of the references I gave you guys for the post-apocalyptic robot children. I showed you guys a lot of these Recess. These infants from Recess, those crazy kindergartners, the jungle kindergartners, which really inspired a lot of this this brief that I wrote. So I'm looking for something that looks a little bit like that, variety, different age groups. barefoot, dysfunctional, something very, very similar to that. It was really fun writing these. This was the one that I wanted to win, but because Magical Companions won as well, I was just going to let you guys do both. But yeah, these are the resource pack references. I'm looking for stuff like this. These are some disabled children with their prostheses. There's some like retro robot design, so I'm looking for stuff like that. This is in a different world, so it's not like in the 2000s or 2010s you made robots and then in 2030 there was an apocalypse and then 200 years after design them. The robots could have been made in the 30s in some other dimension of humans. So it doesn't have to be modernized. It could be like 30s style. It could be steampunk style, post-apocalyptic. I never made a specification for that. So you guys had all the creative liberty in the world. So there's just the bandaging and the bad like seaming job. This is if you wanted to go a little bit more advanced or more streamlined design. Really similar to like Eva from WALL-E. Some angry looking kids. So I'm looking for this kind of expression. These kids were designed to be for human children, as companions for human children. That means they had to have faces. They had to have they have to have faces that are friendly to look at, easy to look at. So children, even though if it's fake skin or artificial skin, we still needed a face. So if all of you guys designed robot faces and only robot faces, that would not have been a very successful companion for children if they look that scary. So children, of course, are more drawn to pretty young children looking things. So that was the point in their design, their AI. So they need the face. I gave you guys this, but again, these are not required. Absolutely required to use each and every single one of these for the resources. Some more prosthetics, and this is from the Lost Boys. I think I forget where I found where this is from, but I think it is Peter Pan Lost Boys. So just really different sizes, different heights, messed up clothing. Not looks like they haven't had a parent or a programmer in this case as their parent in a while. Some of these children have a desire to have a mom or a dad. So we need to show that. These are some more. I'm not sure where I found these, but some funny looking, bulky looking, like they look like water guns. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. Because they're so childlike, they go for the water gun version of a gun. It's still highly effective. Faulty, but effective water gun looking gun. So I wanted to see some of that. I thought this girl was adorable. Something very similar to that. Probably some of their original design, some of their original mechanics are still intact, but of course some have fallen off. This is Johnny Poi right here. I bet this is Johnny. Marco, doesn't it look like him? Okay, so this is really cute. Different heights, boys and girls. Different kinds of clothing. No feet. They're so adorable. Some more prostheses. And then ponchos and all of that. Shade. We're always looking for shade. Shade and oil. So that's what I'm going to be looking for today. I'm going to try to paint over most of them. I'm not going to. It's from Hook. Is it really? I'm going to try to go over all of them, but if I can't, then I will at least skim through some of them. I will try to go over as many as I went through last time just to make it fair. I do have like an hour and a half to 2 hours to spend today on these. I know it's called Critique Hour, but if for some reason you found a reason to complain because it went over 1 hour, you should really just find a door and walk through it. Okay, so let's look at this one. Okay, so this looks more like it does look preteen. Her head is nice and large. This is beautiful, by the way. So you definitely have the desert part of the equation. You have this, and damn it, I can't control this. Motherfucker. Damn it. So, damn it, I lost it. Can someone rewrite those for me? Yeah, so what I want to see is the fact that it looks like there's a sandstorm or something similar to that, just so that it looks like there's some kind of sandy environment, because that's the environment they're going to be drawn on. So if you're drawing like pure blues, primary blues, crayon blues, or something like that, pure primary colors, we wouldn't really see those in a desert environment. You just got to really Google like Mad Max Fury Road images, and you can just see that palette. Okay, you see that palette? It's not primary colors, they're all sandy colors. And when they do want to show a character as flamboyant, remember this guy? Fucking hilarious, dude. It really made an impact, because it just made him that much more funny, to me at least. When I was sitting, I couldn't stop laughing in the theater, because he was the only guy who was wearing like this primary like nightie. What is it called when you're wearing that one piece? Onesie, there you go. It just looked so hilarious, and well, there you go. So that's, you're gonna want to stay away from that. It's laughable when in a world of desaturated values we find these pure primary colors. So yeah, keep that in mind. Child proportions, desert, post-apocalyptic deterioration. Thank you, Tommy. You're the best. Post-apocalyptic, child proportions. I think there was one more and another one. Oh yeah, function. Thank you guys. You're the best. All right, so let's get started. So let's start with desert. You got that. Child proportions, you don't have that here, and let me show you why. When we have like an increase of, like where the child is getting older, we get older in many areas across the face. The face grows around the eyes, so the eyes look less large. And thank you, Isam. And the nose gets longer, the chin and the jawline become more defined. So this is a very, very high bone structure 12-year-old. So let's look up what 12-year-old looks like. So 12-year-old face. So this is the oldest that I've allowed. And we can see the shortness in the nose, the largeness in the eyes, no bone structure. Look at that. So nice that we have a nice older person here. You can see the bone structure in the jawline. Longer nose, large chin. So we have less of that. First degree. Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, no large jawline, small mouth, small nose. The bridge hasn't really developed yet. So when we have, God, Google, you're so creepy, Google. I fucking hate you. So we do a shrinking there, and she will instantly look younger. And I'm just going to tuck in that jawline, and that'll kind of help make her look like she's a little bit younger. Okay, so she looked older, and that was because her face was very long. So we're used to drawing older characters, and when we draw a younger looking character, we tend to overdo it. So before, do you see how she looked like she was probably 16, 15? Except her head was big. So the size of the head was okay, it's just the length of the nose was just a little bit off. Okay, no, that's still too high. Also, the length of the body is a little bit too big, so what I would do is shorten it along the torso as well. So that'll help you give off the feeling of it being children. Shorten the torso. And I think it's really like unique, this idea. I haven't really seen anything like this in movies at all. And it's really unfortunate that we haven't. I wish we could see stuff like this more often. I wish they gave artists, you know, that creative power in movies and concept art. Just ask an artist, yo, draw something weird, I'm going to make a movie about it. And it's probably going to be a hit. If they could just do that, you know? For fuck's sake. Alright, so I'm also shrinking this lower half so it looks more like a child. And then carrying this over. So raising that knee up. And it'll look more, that head size was very big compared to the length in her body. So I'm just trying to help you kind of develop that consistent age. Get that joint to be a little bit more aligned. So do you see how long she was before and after? Also, remember those expressions. You had a chance to make some expressions happen, and she looks pretty neutral. She just looks stern. It doesn't look like she's in this really strenuous squat, ready to kick some ass. You know, she's fighting for the survival of her tribe. She needs that oil. So what does that mean for a kid to have all, like, child mentality, to have all of that responsibility? It's a really big concept for you guys to take on. So some of you really did an amazing job drawing these. And I like this one because we have an actual face. So I'm going to be adding to this. Does it have some human features or recognizable human features? So we can add that to our criteria. All right. So we added that to the criteria. All right. So I'm just going to make some shadows for the crease over here. I like how you showed some of the jawline. She isn't perfect. She seems like the older sister in the group, but not necessarily, you know, the most mature. But she's definitely trying. Kind of like a Wendy. And then to continue that expression, we need the eyes to stop looking so down. Not down, like not down as an expression-wise, but like look up a little bit. To be a little bit more ferocious. Because that downward tilt in the head, but upward look in the expression is very ferocious. Okay, so did you guys have fun with this? I'm going to try to talk to you guys a little bit more than last week, because last week I was really bent on getting a lot of paint overs done. But did you guys enjoy this challenge? What was your most favorite part of the challenge? What was your favorite? Not most favorite. Okay. And one thing that also helps in making a character look furious or ferocious is this visibility of the white above the eyes. So what I'm going to do really quickly is squeeze this area here. So we have more of the whites visible. Hey Dwayne, I had plenty of fun realizing I should have done plenty more form studies. Yeah, that's the beauty of these masterpieces, is they really help you develop an understanding of your lack. So what I'm trying to do here is show the white of the eye above to make her look like she's really opening her eye. So she does look like a child now. We took care of the proportions. Now I just want to make her look furious. Strong, capable. And we do that by a focused eye. A focused eye is an open eye. A really focused eye, an angry eye in the middle of battle, is very open. Okay. And I don't want to just leave the mouth not involved. I want to involve the mouth as much as possible. So just like that. And then we've got a little bit of a... So remember, she's young. She's practically a baby. So that means that we have this laugh line. It's not really a laugh line, but it is definitely a bump in the mouth just because she's having that scowl. I did the Magical Companions, and I think my favorite part was thinking about the personality of the character. I also enjoyed trying to get the colors to look good. Yeah. I love it, but I'm still on it. Most favorite thing was that we could express emotion trying to paint with a non-organic material. That's great. Yeah, I really went off when it came to human features. Took more inspiration from the toy robot in the reference pack. That's okay too. I mean, over time the face, I'm sure, melted off somehow. It is probably made out of some kind of plastic or silicone or something like that. I'm not really sure what like those fake faces are made from, but I really want to make her look furious here. Give her more of an intense stare. I'm going to shrink the size of her mouth in a second. I was wondering if I should use Liquify for that. So the size of the mouth was the old size. I want her to look younger. So I'm going to shrink that. And the distance between the nose and the mouth is what makes them look young. If we've got a mouth that's this low, she looks older and older. Because the mouth kind of sags away from the nose the older you get. No, I don't want that tail. Okay, so there we go. Now we'll look at the before and after. Good job on the color of the background to not make it so like out there. A grayscale would have been just as good, but right, so before, very long, tall legs. Seems like she was 13, 14, 15, so definitely a teenager right here. She feels like a 12-year-old, but a ferocious 12-year-old. Careful with the swell of the bosom. That is definitely for like post-puberty, and that means that we're talking like, you know, teenage. Swell of the bosom. So I'm just going to flatten that out. I don't want her to look like she was some kind of developed baby robot. It would not have made any sense. Kind of creepy too. So a child robot is pre-puberty. That's something I was trying to stress to you guys, because there really would be like this really creepy gray area if they were post-puberty but still little girls but owned. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to keep this PG. So no swell in the bosom. I think I made it even more obvious. How the fuck do I do this? So lighten. I'll choose this value. Okay, so I'm just going to try to flatten this out. There we go. Just the torso value, and that's all we need. And just make that disappear into the distance. Pubescent robots. Early puberty. Yeah, we want it pre-puberty. Okay, so before, kind of like a young lady, and after, angry kid. I would shrink the nose one more time. Just one last shrinking of the features. There we go. And children don't have a developed bridge, so that means the light of the top of the bridge and the tip of the nose are not connected. We have more of a button, because from side view it looks like a little like a button nose instead of a full bridge, which we give to older people. Okay, so right now what you did was one consistent value. That means she's post-puberty. But if we have this cute little button nose, it's all pre. Okay. See that? It looks a little bit more like Annie from League. Okay, so I suggest these corrections. If you wanted to keep it, I mean, you can keep this in your portfolio. No one knows it was specific to children. But beautiful job. It really does look like it was post-apocalyptic. It looked like it was deteriorated. The function, it did look like these all work. It looked like this, like some sort of hydraulic, or I don't know what it's called when it's just air. I forget what that's called. Aero something. It just looked like a real system. It looked like it actually could walk. That's what I look for. Just like a functional prosthetic arm or leg. Okay. So let's talk about this one. One thing I said you guys shouldn't do is robot horror show. I didn't want to see that. I wonder if I can get a better quality version of this from someone. Her head seems too large. I think her head was just fine. She was an 11-year-old, 10-year-old. I would keep her head just fine. You're still working with like a child proportions. If you want, you can enlarge her whole body. Don't try to shrink, or shrink just her head. Don't try to shrink the body anymore. The body doesn't feel as long anymore. But I think you get away with this because this is still cartoony. You still get away with it because it's a cartoony style. When you get into more realistic rendering, of course, then you're going to have to find a realistic version of everything. Right now, this is pretty cel-shaded if you think about it, compared to realistic values. So again, yeah, no robot horror show. I like the little turban at the top here. I wonder if I can get a better version of this from Discord. Probably not. One thing that's missing are post-apocalyptic symbols. Some recognizable human features are kind of gone. The function seems great. They really do look like they work, the prostheses. If this, because remember you have different competing tribes, so this could have been the antagonist tribe, something a little bit more creepy. But all the creep factor is there. So we're talking about the skull, which goes back to the villain, which is 2 dark circles or cavities for the eye socket, a little nose, a skull shape. That's really what's giving off the creepy stuff. So if you had a little bit more clothing, God, this whole file is like impossible to work with. I can't even paint over it. What the fuck? This is slowing me down. Alright, please don't save as index. I mean, there's no point. You just gotta save as JPEG. That'll be better for everybody. And now it's a GIF. What? Oh my God in heaven. Just save as JPEG for the love of Christ. Alright, Sandra. Alright. So, what am I talking about? So some more clothing, maybe some funny looking shorts to keep it from looking completely creepy. And then we've got, so I did cover this in the critiques in Discord. A lot of these are from Discord, from our Discord group. So I did say, try not to make it look like robot horror show. So I gave you a heads up on that. Maybe a shirt, and then this part is ripped up. So it'll look a little bit more friendly with a less intimidating skeleton silhouette. So the silhouette right now does not read as child. So that's another category to think about. Does the silhouette, which is linked to child proportions, does it read as a child robot? So child meaning innocent proportions. Again, it's not a horror show. So maybe you could have some of the old leg left over, which means we have shorter legs, chubby little Michelin tire legs for babies. Okay, and then one of them could be the prosthetic. And the legs are way too long considering the shortness in the body. Maybe you could give it a little bit more of a like Barbie doll kind of fatness to it. You know, those little funny looking dolls. One of these arms could have been fully intact. And maybe she could have had a teddy bear. Something like that she's holding. And then of course the full visible eyes and the more innocent eyes. So something a little bit more, some of the hair left over, of course, well, you have that going in that direction. And some ribbons, maybe those cute little hair clips. And then half of the face here could have been more of an innocent eyes, like big eyes, innocent looking, innocent smile. But she's probably got one of the more lethal guns in the group. So that's what I'm looking for when it comes to robots, post-apocalyptic child robots, is we have this these kinds of units here used. I like this whole thing you had, but again, it was just too long. She could be very playful, she could be very nice, she could have been something very sweet in the story. It didn't have to be scary, or because when it's scary, when you have skeleton It's not easy to act unless it's drawn like this. This is a very funny looking skeleton. But it's not easy for us to access. We don't have an emotional relationship with the skull. And that's why they're so easy as villains. That's why we use the skull as a way to create a villain, because we want to sever the ability for the viewer to have an empathetic relationship with this. If we have a halfway, just this really, really nice halfway familiarity in the human, then we can have a really sweet relationship with the character. Like, we have more of an empathy towards the character and what happens to them. So we're sad when they're sad. We're happy when they're happy. We're not happy when they die. And when a skeleton is destroyed, then we no longer have that fear factor and that memento mori. And then we, of course, cheer on anyone who kills the bad guy. The bad guy almost always has the skeleton. Think about this in anywhere. The latest Pirates of the Caribbean movie, the bad guys were so not there, they were like invisible. Some of the worst of them had like no face at all. They had pieces of them left behind. They were walking zombies, very skeletal. That's what makes you hate the bad guy, because they're not human anymore. So if you're taking away, and the skeleton is very non-human to us, it scares the shit out of us. It reminds us of death. So if you, this is why it looked like Robot Horror Show. So if you have something that's a little bit more, here, let me just kind of make my point. If you have something that's a little bit more cute, oops, sorry, I'm drawing like an anime eye. Remember, it's supposed to be like a fake human, so it's not, doesn't have to look completely human or realistic, just something that is a little bit easier for us to relate to. Okay? Big chubby child cheeks. And then when it's angry, of course, it probably has some sort of creepy, let me make this a little smaller. Probably has some sort of creepy expression, and it's ready to kick everybody's ass. I don't know. I don't know. I can't be. It has to be creative right now. So that'll kind of help. Okay. So good luck with your corrections. Let me see another one. Okay. So this one's really cute. It reads more as a bobblehead. The head is too big. But if that's the original design, then that's good. Keep it. The goggles feel more like steampunk, but again, steampunk is kind of post-apocalyptic. So for her to read as a child, she still reads as a child, but she doesn't read as a kind of like a bobblehead anymore, or a caricature. And you kind of have this stiffness happening in the body. I'm not sure why. Let me see if it's in the rotation. It's probably the rotation of the legs. Everything about the body faces this side, and the head is facing this side. That's why it feels a little stiff. But it's a robot, so you kind of get away with it, right? Filter, liquefy. So I shrunk the head just a little bit. I like the costume. She looks a little bit preppy, which might have been like a, you know, a companion for probably school kids or something like that. I don't mind it that much. I'm trying to make this leg face forward. Her face looks stiff, but you kind of get away with that because it is a robot. You might want to make it smile just a little bit. The eyes have no expression, so you might want to make it have some kind of expression or characterization. These are still protagonists. You're designing protagonists for this pitch. So you don't want to make them look too stiff. What the heck? That might help with the stiffness level. In fact, you know, I'm just going to draw over it. Just facing forward, something like that, and then you've got some kind of spring system, or what's it called, that air system with the pipes, not the pipes, the wires, or the, I don't know what it's called, when you have wind, when you have air, well, like pressure, air pressure, it's used in trucks, and they go like, I Okay, that stiff Barbie doll arm, get rid of it. There's enough stiffness everywhere else. She had these claws. I just want to make her arm relax just a little. This one is already doing that, so if you've got one arm doing that, then it looks stiff, and then you've got both legs kind of facing that way, and then you've got head facing straight forward. That's why it looked stiff. But now what we're doing is we're basing it off the trunk. Trunk looks forward, and then we've got one leg looking forward, one leg looking to the side, one arm doing this, and one arm at the side like that. And you've got more badassery and a more loose silhouette. So now it looks a little bit more happy. As for the three-dimensional aspect, like the painting aspect, you do need some, that covered this last class, so you do need some of the background color on the character, just to show how the sunlight is there. It does look like there is sand. There definitely looks like there is some kind of sand happening. I probably shouldn't have done that. Get a new layer instead. So I'm getting this background color, that's what I'm using, and I'm using it here to make more shine happen on the goggles. Sorry I'm not reading your comments. I will tell you when I'm about to read questions. So anything reflective, you need to show there is a texture difference. Any kind of reflectivity. You want to show that she's got a humanity in her eyes, so a little bit more white in her eyes, please. And to reflect the nearby surrounding landscape, all we do is choose the background color, lower our opacity all the way down on a soft brush, and make this random pattern, and with a sharp brush erase away some kind of nearby like pattern of some kind of, it's best to do this zoomed out, something like that, some kind of nearby environment that the eyes are reflecting because they're so glass-like. Zoom out. So maybe they're reflecting like yeah, just something like a highway or something nearby, anything really. Okay, so that's how you do it. You just choose the environment colors, and that's what the eyes reflect, and now it looks like they're reflecting something nearby. If the eyes are large enough, they will reflect something. You zoom up close enough to a person's face, you will see their eyes reflecting mirror-like. And then we have the soft brush again, choosing the background color again, and using it on the face, showing where all that sweat is, if they sweat. So you have a lot of liberty right now with breaking rules or unusual anatomy rules when it comes to robots, because they're no longer 100% human. So you get a chance to kind of break some anatomy rules, especially with expressions. But again, if you want human audience, and that's pretty much the only audience we have until we find some aliens to watch movies with, but a human audience will have a relationship with anything that looks human, an emotional relationship. That's how you paint a protagonist. That's how you design a protagonist. Okay. So we need some more of this environment white in the background. You chose a very bright white. You have the responsibility of making sure that it's reflected and is visible across the painting. Okay. Couple more edits and I'll move on to the next one. And I'll show you the before and after. This is a light source, so it needs illumination. It needs to be bright. Alright. So this looks really, really cute. What I do recommend, if you want to make her look more girly, before I do the before and after, is kind of give her a more, a large skirt, maybe Barbie dollish size to it, and that'll kind of add to her innocence. Let me do it on the other side as well. Flip horizontal. And it'll look like she's a woman if you don't decrease her torso size. That means that we have less size for the bust. But the shirt and the skirt are kind of preppy. It looks like a school uniform, so keep that in mind. And then all of that against a really high. Maybe I'll take the arm too. Flatten. See how cute that looks? And you get that bobblehead effect and the cute chibi kind of body type. But you don't have that, trying to get the lance to align, but you don't have that kind of feminine corset, Victorian era dress type female silhouette, like feminine adult silhouette. Okay, so I'll show you the before and after now. Flatten. Shrunk the body. Shrunk the head. Made it more realistic. Do you see the stiffness in the legs? She looks nice and short. It kept the lance the same size. So she looks short compared to it. Now she looks a little bit more innocent, like at one point she did help her chosen human kind of study her math homework. But now, since all the humans are gone, there's no one for her to help. So she's probably one of the more older sister kind of, or crazy younger baby sister that has a high kill count. Has a lot of headshots with her little lance. She's like a marksman. Okay? So you see the issue with the leg? The leg turning to the side? The emotionless mouth, very, very hard to relate to. Reflective face, reflecting the nearby environment. Just a little bit more involvement with the environment values. I love the way you made the rip in the shirt and how even under the shadow you showed the sweater. It would be really cool if you got like some sort of school sigil or something. Something that looks like she was in a private school. I don't know how those look. Something like that. Like she was a tutor in a private school, and it's just like the cute girl in the library, the little baby girl that helps all the other humans study. I don't know why they would even design them, for fuck's sake. I don't know why they would design AI robot children, if you really think about it. Maybe because there was a law. And the law said no more, you can only have one baby a family. And so kids were in need of siblings because development was all messed up. So someone said, hey, okay, fine, we can still control population and we'll still have this law in order, but we can have AI robot companions. So in a time where it's so far in the future, we need constant population control with these laws, I'm sure we're like advanced enough to make baby robot companions. Before, after. I really suggest the corrections here. Before, there's a very, very little audience for caricature. The audience for caricatures is much smaller than the audience for concept art. Concept art demands some level of realism. Okay, so this is Antares' piece. I really have nothing to suggest about this piece. It's very well done, and he knows it. The reflection on the steel is just perfect. The colors you chose, the environment values that you chose a lot of sunlight nearby. It looks sandy. It's just wonderful, wonderfully done. I don't think it ever had skin or human skin. The one thing though, it doesn't look it looks like an older child. It definitely looks like a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old, maybe a slightly larger head. But again, if they don't know you were drawing for children, they wouldn't know any better. But just for the sake of the requirements or the criteria for the challenge. But beautiful job, Antares. Okay, so this is done by Izem, I think. All right, so one of the issues here, I think it was a mistake asking you guys to upload on Discord, because you guys gave me some really, really low quality. Yes, I listened to Future Mask Off, but not the fucking track, okay? Not him talking about Percocets and other drugs. I listened to the instrumental when I'm playing Quintop. Don't judge me. Okay, anyway. Community. Okay, so where's Izam's post? Oh, the Percocet. Stupid song. Dumbass. Couldn't find another word to rhyme with mask off or whatever the hell he's trying to rhyme. Izam, I don't know where yours is. Challenge submission. Did I pass it? There we go. Just relax. I listen to instrumental hip hop a lot. Copy but keep both. Alright? I got 16 and 5 when I was listening to it, so it works. It works listening to hip hop instrumentals when you're trying to get kills. Alright. So right over here, the issue with this is that you've got a white material that's blending into the background. You really did have a chance here to play around with some reflectivity, and you're probably having a texture issue in the way you're translating the difference between this texture and this texture, so it feels like it's made out of fabric too, but it's not. We're looking at the mechanics underneath. These really high, heavy-duty plastics, or I don't know what's used when they're designing like helmets, you know, like biker helmets, whatever they're made out of. I guess these are what they're made out of. Okay, so that means that we're reflecting the nearby environment. So where is the light source coming from? We've got a secondary reflection, we've got some of this, and then we've got the hot spot. That's all I really would have wanted to see with these. It's just a little bit of specularity to show the difference in these materials. Kind of made it look a little bit too felt. So you have a white material and glossy purple glowy eyes. So I think what you should have done is, because this has lost its familiarity, it barely has eyebrows, I think you should have gone for a more like dark eyebrow or a dark eye. Something a little bit more friendly. So the audience can have a relationship with them. So at one point this little baby was probably very, very cute. But because of the tragedy of losing all mankind and all the parents, which are the programmers, they eventually deteriorated. But they're still functional, which is crazy. They have their own societies, and probably when the humans come back, they'll study them. You see a little smile coming through. I don't know where I saw it. Little, like, funny looking, but really sweet old robots that are maybe WALL-E. Yeah, WALL-E. Remember those crazy robots that were in quarantine? All of them were so adorable and their weird little quirks. Remember that? It's exactly like that, but just human AI. Okay, so the high eyes, really, really cute looking now. And then we could just fill it in. Sorry about the bad job. Really cute nose. By the way, I recommend the website Listen on Repeat. It's really good for in-game. Okay, just showing that little lash. Okay, so that's what I recommend for this. The color palette is a little off. I recommend just the white on blue. Try to keep it simple, because this yellow, you want to make it glow, but if you've got yellow everywhere else, you're probably missing out on that. So I would desaturate that and then leave all that rustiness for anything that was made out of. What rusts into that? I'm not sure. Deselect. What gets that rusty? that turns yellow when it rusts, like iron or something, right? Steel. But then you have another material that's probably plastic that just gets brown or gray, loses its gloss. And if the mechanical glow off this one is blue, then you have to treat it with saturation. A light source is really high saturation. So this all up here, you know these freaky colors up here? These are the colors we use for light sources or neon lights. So that's how I would treat the mechanical glow or the fuel system in this character. I would treat it with this much glow. Oops, what am I doing? So if it's glowing this much, if all of these areas have like a little bit of that nitro juice or whatever it is going through, and that way now you have a more of a unified cool palette instead of trying to force warm and cool. And if he's translucent, then we would see some of that purple underneath the white skin, just somewhere around here, kind of like glowing through. But you have already so much going on that you probably shouldn't make this a light source, but I'm just going to go with what you chose. That looks like a light source. That looks like a light source now. That looks like it's glowing. And this looks like it's like an internal, is it hydraulics? God damn it. Can somebody just send it to me on, on Discord, the word I'm looking for? Using air pressure to fuel the machine. What's it called? Oh, they use it in trucks. Compression? I'm just going to desaturate everywhere else so you don't have a color. Okay? And if you wanted to bring in that desert effect, so silhouette is good. It looks like a child. Recognizable human features. Definitely we added the eyes. Functional. It does look functional. You have all of these, lack of word. God damn it, somebody. Pneumatics? Is it? Okay, pneumatics. Is it really? Yeah, there you go. Pneumatics. I'm acting like I know that word. So the child proportions, and then post-apocalyptic, definitely. Deterioration, definitely there. Functional, yep. And then you've got all that. This dude right here, you oversaturated along the highlight, which is not what you're supposed to do. We desaturate along the trail of the light source and replace it with the color of the nearby sunlight, so the color of the sunlight itself. So I desaturated to start us off. So he's very reflective still. And then I'm going to desaturate again anywhere where the light is touching, because that's the color of the sunlight, which is very white. We don't saturate shadows, we don't saturate highlights, we saturate midtones. And this is that reflection back, that reflection back. And if he is rusty, rusty is more yellow-ish orange than red-orange. So this is more rusty looking, kind of goldish. It does have red in it, that's the orange aspect. But it really doesn't get to be this, this red-orange. There's a lot of yellow and rust. His eyes kind of, there are disproportionate in their 3/4 view. Whoops. Forgot to merge down. Merge down, filter, liquefy. We want to enlarge the eyes so we can keep that emotion, that emotive kind of response. Sorry, I'm just waiting for liquefy to get shit together. Let's see that little smile. He's so cute. Okay, so this kind of downward tilt, we see these in puppies and kittens. This we die for it. This like innocent looking downward tilt in the eyes. We also saw that in WALL-E. That's how they managed to make WALL-E so fucking lovable. Sorry, I was a little aggressive when it comes to cute stuff. Okay, WALL-E's like the cutest in the world. Everything about Wally is just perfect. And that's because his eyes tilted down like Ossie's little eyes. Okay, so I'm just making sure they're proportionate. And then the head size, I would just enlarge that a little bit. You probably enlarged the head size like 10 times already. Just to make sure it looks like a 12-year-old and not a 15-year-old. So it'll look a little bit more cute and childlike if we gave it a bigger head. Just so it looks like it's, you know, elementary and not grade 8 or something like that. And then the teddy bear, at this point it's just a teddy bear, so the companion is, it's not AI human anymore. Probably AI and that's it. It's just the teddy bear. Just like the teddy bear in that one movie. Okay, and then we're missing some reflectivity from the nearby environment. The background color should be lighter. Now that we've added all of this, background color should be much lighter. What's up? Oh. Okay, so I'm just gonna make the background color a little bit lighter. God help me with this part. You gotta be honest though, that Mask Off sample, the flute, that's pretty good. It's not like he sampled it in or anything. Fucking idiot singing about Percocet. Alright. So we're just raising this. So now we have a little bit more reflectivity visible from the nearby environment. And then I'm going to desaturate the entire thing. So it looks a little bit more post-apocalyptic. So that's going to help with the desert feel. And then I'll bring in the reflectivity of the nearby environment like this. Okay. So that over here, this gets some. So I recommend all these changes for you, because they're just pushing this environment a little bit more, and they're a little bit more consistent with texture. The eyes here, there was nothing really to see other than, again, robot horror show. We want something that still says human, still says lovable. And kind of like children. Maybe it's a show for children, maybe it's a movie for children. Okay, so before, after, a little bit more reflective and metallic looking. Just the trail of the sun. You probably would need to do a little bit more work than I did to make it look like it's reflective appropriately. So actually following a nearby light source, looking up some rusted cars or something like that. Whatever you can find. More reflection of the environment on the secondary light source. I don't have time to talk about him. And then the eyes for this one. It could have been a female, it could have been a male. You can't really tell. The proportions for this one are great. Okay. So let's look at some more. Go get some water, have a walking break. Whoever's bored already or tired. All right. So for this one, the issue with this one, oh God, why? Discord. All right, let me find Germanas again. There we go. Download. Copy but keep both. I don't know which one it's trying to replace here. Is this the new one? No. Alright, so the issue with this one is the mouth is very big. So that's the biggest problem here. It looks like an older woman's mouth. And the smile is also very, it's adding age because it's widening the mouth across and outside of the beauty proportions or the golden ratio. I like her little headdress. It's cute. She probably picked it up or something. You need to detail more. You need to kind of just show where the nose is, where the edges of the nose are, where everything is like this. There's a lot of chance here to kind of fix up your rendering a little bit. And if she is smiling, we give more of like a dimpling than a stretching out of the mouth. We create more of a dimpling for children. Their faces are so chubby. Yeah, I was meaning to tell you guys, I don't know why I'm even saying this, but if I were to have a kid and I'm trying to do a critique hour and I had them on their little baby carrier, you know, the one that you wear. Not that it matters if it annoyed you or if it would not make me have children, but I think that's what would happen. You guys would hear a lot of baby cooing and stuff with the baby kind of just hanging off of me. So prepare for that. Not right now. Like, there's nothing happening now. I'm not pregnant or anything. I'm just saying. Might happen. Might start creating my progeny. Create my my legacy in the world. Probably not. But I do want to raise my own little army of artists. Post-apocalyptic robot children. Okay, so starting to look a little bit more like, but would you guys get annoyed if you, not 9 months from now, no, nothing like that. But I would never want anything to get in the way of my weekly meets with you guys. But if I had a kid, I'm not going to take like some sort of maternity leave or anything like that. Like some kind of coward. I would still want to teach, but the baby would be nearby and they would just be making all kinds of noises. So it might slow me down just a little bit, but if you guys are, I'm just letting you know. I thought we were your legacy, is to You guys are my legacy. Okay, so I made a little bit more of a baby mouth. Maybe too much of a baby, but in fact, I'm not going to shrink that. What I'm going to do is just shrink her body, right? So that what we did before. Let them sit for critique hour and start them when they're young. I would not get annoyed. I think babies are adorable unless they're crying. Yeah, just if it starts crying, like doing that crazy demon cry that babies do, I wouldn't know what I would do. Would I say, like, be right back? I'm going to silence it. What if it starts crying in the middle of my class? I mean, you know, Abu says, no, I'll take care of it. Just, you know, they'll cry and I'll do what I got to do to shut them up. But that would be kind of sucky. Like, I want my baby right there, just right beside my computer while I'm teaching. I don't know why I'm talking about this. It's just because I'm 27. 27 on the 22nd. And I'm just thinking about who's going to inherit my kingdom. Who's going to inherit my car. I don't know why. It just happens, you know. You think you're never going to have kids, and then it's just your mind makes you want to have kids. I really don't want to have kids, but a lot of people are saying, you know, have kids so you can raise smarter people. Alright, so short legs, kind of matching, keeping her head big. The proportions are really the biggest issue. It does look post-apocalyptic, but the saturation levels and the kinds of colors you chose are just a little bit too primary. Maybe use a little bit more yellow. Do you see how big the mouth was? Before, after, before, after. You're way too young to think about that? I'm 27. What are you talking about? Am I a Gemini? I think I'm a Cancer. June 22nd, I'm a Cancer. No? Little Ista Bricks. Critique hour. How to make a baby stop crying. Yeah, that demon cry, like it's like summoning the fucking ball or something. Okay, before, after. Long limbs, very big mouth, larger than it's supposed to be, small mouth. Now it looks a little bit more cute. I recommend these changes. That little floating head was adorable, like her little brother or something. Okay, so let's take a look at these guys. I think this is another one of those really bad Discord compression pictures. Let me try to find them. Why, discard? Why? Why do you fail me? Where's your post, Tommy boy? There it is. Download. Okay, both. Don't close it. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at some proportions that are reading as older, probably like 20-year-old, 18-year-old. And that's because of the kinds of face you drew. I mean, if it was a little bit smaller. So let's just look at her for now. Just to keep her looking young, we need to draw, we need to follow that golden ratio. So smaller mouth. Closer to the nose. Okay. What do you mean I'm too young? I'm 27. If by the time they're 10, I'm going to be 27, 37? So, yes, I just did use my fingers to count. So I don't want to, like, you know, be too old when they're old enough to draw. I want to have some kind of energy left. Used it all up on you guys. Critiquing you for 10 fucking years. Alright, I'm going to enlarge the eyes. So we still want the cute factor. Remember, it's not Robot Horror Show. It's not the Chainsaw Massacre. It's not a bunch of kids you found in a warehouse. They all have their own little societies. Post-apocalyptic, yes, and that's the sad part. But other than that, they still, you know, have dinner together. Like the Lost Boys, the pictures I showed you guys, the laughing kids all lined up, those Tibetan kids, I think. This dark circle here is making her look a little sickly and villainous. Remember the dark circle? We use that for villains. Trying to stay away from those cheek laugh lines. If this was functional and the eyes blinked and moved around. Yeah, I am Cancer, yeah. That means the eyes have to be a little bit more circular so they can be proportionate. Imagine if we had oval eyes. What would that mean? It means our eyes would never look side to side, only up and down. So like an oval shape. So enlarging the size of the pupils so the eyes look huge and cute, giving more of like a bewildered expression, which looks again really, really cute. Tucking the nostrils down. And then good job on not having any jawline. Her round face is looking a little bit adorable, so I would leave that alone. So do you see what I did, Tom? Before, after. Do you see how old and masculine she looked? Because of that wide mouth, that high nose. The distance between the nose and the mouth is very important. Write that back to me. The distance between the nose and the mouth, if it is long, it determines a larger age group. So the distance between the nose and the mouth determines the age. So we shrunk that distance. We lowered them down. Okay, we gave the eye a larger size. Less oval shape, more realistic circular shape. And you can make her as, you know, fucked up as you want to with those like tire armor, because her face is cute now. You can make her as messed up outside of that as you want. So you're repeatedly bringing in this is a repeated offense. No more laugh lines, none of that. You're bringing in an age signature. That age signature is throwing off the age completely. Closer nose. Just a closer nose, okay? Less cheekbones. That is not child proportion. So I want you guys to apply all of these corrections because I think your portfolio is worth it, is it not? I'm going to ask you guys a question. Is your portfolio worth it? Is your portfolio worth all of these corrections? I think it is. I think your portfolio is worth it. And I think that you guys should represent a skill level. Your skill level and your portfolio should represent the latest skill level you have. So anyone who is not 4, you know, going back and revisiting your paintings, you are in no state to make those kinds of calls. You're young, you're a student. Go back and revisit your stuff if you want to represent your latest skill level. It's just like that whole thing with the masterpiece. A masterpiece is a thesis. It's your graduate thesis from master's or PhD in art. So saying that, oh, I don't want to touch it, it doesn't feel honest, it's not my style, this was a masterpiece that blah, blah, blah. You go back and edit it. Go back and change whatever you want it to. You have to change. Because there are fundamental issues, and if you fix them, they can make the painting sing. They looked uncanny with these scary little faces, and it looked like a horror show. And that's what I would do if I had assigned you guys, okay, robot horror show, 5 kids traveling through whatever, get caught inside, find an old vending machine, and they're very thirsty, so they use the vending machine, and the vending machine transports them to a post-apocalyptic robot horror show. Alright? And they find a little frog dressed in weird clothing telling them, you are the awaited ones, and we need help to fight the robot army. And at that point, you can keep them looking all old and scary and uncanny. But this is not the story we assigned. This is not the brief you were given in your little in your concept art job. So we're making more believable female, young female, prepubescent faces that are easier on the eyes, period. Okay. Yeah, the cuts on the shoulder look really real, don't they? Because they're catching the light on an angle. They actually look like cuts. So really good job. This one is a little funny. This guy looks a little bit old. I think, I can't really tell because his face is all covered up. And this one looks a little bit old because of the type of mouth you drew. So very, very big mouth. Even if it's a kid, boy. You can keep the eyes large and the nose big-ish. Careful with the cheekbones and the jawline. We want to make it look like a kid. And maybe enlarge the head just a little bit. I would love to have some robot babies, but you know, the whole back problem. I don't know if any of you are related to a neurosurgeon or any of you are neurosurgeons. Why would a neurosurgeon watch my critique hour? But yeah, I don't think women who have discs should get pregnant. I think that's just one way to get to hell. All right, let's take a look at this one. This one's very simple, and I like that it's simple. But the issue here is it looks flat. It looks like you just squished half of the painting. It looks like we're looking at it halfway. So I'm just going to extend this because we're seeing half of the cube. So let's take a look at what happened actually fundamentally, mechanically. It looked like your cube was squished just like this. Okay? And so what we want to do is show more of the z-axis, or show more of the side. Because you rotated your cube, didn't you? So that means we see more of this side. So what you did was you rotated the cube. You said, hey, this cube is really thick. Thick. But you rotated it and suddenly you had like a tiny, not so thick. So you were lying about the thickness, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm just enlarging the z-axis portion of that side view. So before, see how thin it was, and after. As for what the issues are with your art, right now, if I were to diagnose, you need more form studies. When you study form studies, keep an eye out for edges. Edges are two kinds, stacking or folded, like angle edges. I don't know who's linking me. You need to do some fabric studies. So fabric studies help you kind of figure out how to make stuff look like it's been folded. Thick. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy for memes. You guys are like piranhas. Okay, so this would have probably been really nice if you had used some real folding, something like that actually looked like it was folded, and ponchos, maybe a large poncho that's kind of just blowing in the wind would have been nice. I like your use of pneumatics or whatever for the like the pulley system, the pulleys or whatever you're using to make the legs look like they can walk properly. I like how you kept some of the face cute. I think you're also missing an eyebrow to make him look a little bit more determined. You know, ready to defend for his group or whatever, to find some oil and feed his people. Maybe just feed himself. You need to, form studies are going to help you figure out when you need a core shadow and when you don't. So right here along the halfway mark of the face, if the light was coming top down, this should all have been shaded radially lower and lower as you went, and it should have looked a little bit more realistic. You need more cast shadows. You don't have any cast shadows in your visual light. Zero. Just this tiny little baby cast shadow off the nose. And that's only because you know it symbolically, because you've probably drawn a face more. But there are no cast shadows anywhere else. It's cast shadow off the neck. If this light is strong enough to cast the shadow in this sharpness, first of all, we'd have some major shine and secondary glow, which will add to this texture. God damn it, this is so hard to do. And we would have another cast shadow that's just as sharp down here. If I chose your work for today and haven't critiqued it, I'm very sorry. I'm trying to get to everyone. I'll be here for probably another 30 minutes maybe, hopefully, so everyone can get their critique. So that might help a little bit. So before, after, just a little bit more 3D. We need that diffusion over here. Oops. Just that reflectivity up from the shoulders against this. I'm using a soft brush, I'm sorry about this. Okay. What else? You have a lot of areas here that are reflective that might need some light. All of this can be addressed with some form studies. You've drawn the face very, very symbolically. This challenge has been good in revealing to you that you have texture problems and form problems that you really should get into as soon as possible with some form studies and still life studies and texture studies. Texture study is as simple as breaking down the qualifications of a texture. If it needs small brush use, if it needs some major molar brush strokes done first, and then you go in and draw the tiny little rock breaks. So cubes and weird geometric shapes should help you with rocks. Organic shapes should help you with all kinds of cylinders, like the one I'm doing now, to determine when to use a gradient and a sine pile type radial. Ascension, I don't know. Before, after, so a little bit more 3D just around the leg. Where is that burn tool? Right along here. Just to help the leg look more three-dimensional, and all of this can be done with the use of a form study. And then of course, because of the nearby light source is strong and this is reflective, we have these reflection beams. The reflection back the inside here catches lots of light. We should totally write a short story and have us all create the characters. Kind of like these character challenges, but with more of a narrative. That would be cool as fuck. I'm not really a good writer. I know a lot of people tell me, oh yeah, you should write. I think my writing is pretty generic. The characters, I'm just bored, and I see a lot of really bad writing in TV, and anything I write kind of reminds me of that. So if I have anything interesting to tell, any interesting stories to tell, I'll let you guys know. Okay, so I'm just creating some surface damage and then showing off wherever we have some cast shadows and all that surface damage. Okay, So this is the kind of stuff we need to see. You really need to flesh out this form instead of working in, it looks like it was cell shaded, it looks like you're still early and not done. If there was a pretty little design here, you're really missing out on showing it off. See this little design? It's really cool. I love that. It looks very tribal. And maybe something on the head would help as well. But that's what Form Studies gets you, this really, really quick render job. That's what Form Studies help you with. So that's done. This one is done. This one is done. And we've got this one. Let me choose the last couple ones I'll be looking at, hopefully. This one is done, 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 done. Did I load this one in? No, load, and then load. Lots of work today. Okay, so this one has the exact same issue as the other. It's a beautiful job. It really looks three-dimensional, but the saturation is, so let me show you. All we need is the background color on this object. It does look post-apocalyptic. It does not look like a child because of the wide hips. It looks like a woman. It looks like a woman robot. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Robots. It's like a Disney movie. It's really funny. But this is basically how the female robots, the proportions, this is how they've made them look. And I'm just getting the nearby color of the light source and just using it everywhere. Yeah, I've been really thinking about how long I'm going to be doing these critique hours for, and I have no intention of stopping them, but having children is like a big responsibility. I'm sure some of you have children. So figuring out how I'm going to work around that, and all my private sessions as well. I do this in private practice, so I have students off public. I don't know how, like, tell me if you have kids, tell me how you're doing it, because I have no idea how anyone could balance all of that. But I don't want to not have kids, and I don't want to stop these critique hours. They mean a lot to me. I have a lot of fun with them. They're not like anything else that I do. It's like a conversation I have with you guys, or I just get to be myself, not necessarily super professional or anything like that. And I don't want to miss out on that. I want to stay here as long as possible. If you've watched my art adventure video, I really talk about that a lot. If the internet's still around then, or whatever happens to us, God knows. Okay, so I am desaturating, and now I'm just bringing in that illumination of the nearby sun. This is the only way we would have seen all of this color. Let's zoom out and make sure everything makes sense. This color wouldn't be possible unless there was sunshine nearby to reveal it. And I'm just desaturating around these highlights, because we lose the color of the object when the sunlight, which is very white, comes in and takes over. So it does look post-apocalyptic. It has all the post-apocalyptic features. It does not look like a child, but does have the desert color palette. I would desaturate it just a little bit more for it to read as a little bit more deteriorated. It does look functional, absolutely, very steampunkish. Recognizable human features, not anymore. Absolutely, like it's lost a lot of that. It seems like it's always been this kind of robot. The silhouette is very feminine. So let me show you. Very, very feminine silhouette. So we've got, oops, select inverse G. Alright, so just looks like it's reading as a grandma with glasses because of the big curly hair. You actually do get this. If you think that by the time I turn off the silhouette, the read would have gone, no, it won't. It looks like a woman with a large like headdress or hairstyle. People still see this. Hey, Mr. Artist, always do this test, because whatever you see here and whatever your critiquer sees there is what other people will see as well. We still see this. This is still there. I know there's a lot of detail that we have to look through, but we still see this. So if you weren't going for grandma hair, big hips, big booty, sexy looking robot, you're getting that. So you got to make some edits. How do you make it look like a child? If you wanted to, again, you can get away with this in a portfolio, because nobody knows your original brief was about having a child proportions. But if you want to have the child proportions, if you have the description there or something like that, oh, this was for a challenge from this community or something like that, then you obviously do have to follow the childlike proportion requirements. So we have that big booty gone. We're decreasing the size of the body and the legs. Let's see what everyone's saying. Well, ideally you would have 2 people. It's just a question about, do you think maybe about working with Skillshare that you may, what may be your thoughts about that site, by the way? I don't know how people with kids are doing that whole thing. Yeah. Skillshare, I've never used it. Is it like Gumroad or something? My mom worked full-time while raising me. Having someone around to take over when she needed it made it very possible. That's true. Stay at home, Dad. Abu will take care of it, guys. Don't worry. Figure out what distracts them and makes them happy, like a certain color or toy. Aww. Swap babysitting with another mom. Okay, so we took care of that, and then what I'm going to do is just tuck in. Again, you don't really need to because it's such a great painting. You can just say girl robot, but if you had to, I guess. This is probably just gone beyond the requirements of the challenge because it's so well painted. But you can just tuck this in so we have large upper body, reads a little bit less sexy, especially because this garter type deal you got going on here. I just think you had booty on the mind when you were making this. And the thick hips are really, the thighs, they really didn't help with making it look like a prepubescent baby. I think you deviated way outside of this challenge. I probably shouldn't have looked at this because of that. The critiques probably should have covered, you know, the critiques that you got before you handed this in. Should have covered that, that it should have been child proportions. Keeping the head large, doing that, and a little less bending in the legs, because that again looks very, very feminine. And a larger head. You see how like it looked like a pin-up position, like a sitting up pin-up position. And the larger head, maybe tilted a little bit to show some, because he's like, oh, I looked something intelligent and robotic, like that one guy from Star Wars. And I would get rid of this, I'd get rid of some of these because they do look like a hairstyle. So that silhouette can be a little bit more masculine. Or just not anything. No specific gender. It's a robot. But it's still like a humanoid robot. So these are just some of the changes. You see how it looked before? Very, very feminine. Just like a woman sitting down. So all it needed was just a stool and like a big booty. I wouldn't even need to touch the booty. I just need to give it some boobies. Okay, it looks like a, you know, maybe some lashes like that. Do you see what I'm saying? You had that going on. So if you didn't notice that, if for some reason that wasn't, no, that's a big problem. If you didn't notice you had that. Okay. In fact, I would just get rid of this whole piece in the back. Whatever it is, it does not seem that important. I would cut that down just to help with the silhouette. You can keep some of these units there. He seems like he's explaining something. He's very, very cute. And if you wanted to go for an even more cute expression, you gotta shrink that chin. I love this pointy chin. but just so it looks a little bit younger. Shrink that chin down and increase the size of the eyes to be a little bit more emotive. And I'm just going to increase his size. And that looks a little bit more childlike. Definitely would fit into this narrative if you were pitching it. It's definitely helped, you know, pitch the idea and possibly ensure its success. That's what concept artists are for in pre-production. So before, after. See how sexy it looked with those big ass hips? Small upper body, large lower body means female. Large upper body, small lower body means male. Equal sizes and large head means prepubescent baby. So we have more masculine here. If you wanted to make it look like even more cute, you just gotta shrink the torso. And make him look even more like a little kid. So less built. So before, after. And this is if you wanted to. Again, you don't really have to. You can have both if you wanted. If your portfolio was just, the only thing I would keep out of my critique is the fact that we're bringing in the outside light to make it look like the light is being reflected nearby and unifying it with an environment. That's a big one. All right, just need some water. I love these because you made them glow and you darkened the background color. But it is reading as Robot Horror Show. Definite, complete deviation away from the original requirements. Child proportions, check. Post-apocalyptic, check. Deterioration, check. Functional, definitely check. Recognizable human features, not check. And the silhouette is childlike, which goes back to here, check. So this one is pretty big because it's child AI, not, again, Robot Horror Show from Samurai Jack episodes or something like that. So that's a big one. How to make them look more realistic and human. Just bring in some like leftover pieces of the faces they used to have. These are pure robot, not human AI. So, you know, it's just kind of deviating. But at least now you have something to work with in your work. In your pieces, you have a little bit more. I recommend going a little bit darker or just going back up to light. I like how you tried to make it darker. Definitely good work there. But either we're going a little bit darker to get that glow. Cancel. To get that glow. They all seem to glow somehow. So there's a nearby spotlight that's making them glow. They all seem to have a light that's top down right here, like a street light. So all their shadows should have been moving in this direction. Or you take it back to being a little bit lighter because we're seeing a lot of saturation. And that'll definitely bring down the glow a little bit. So the saturation in the green and then the purple jacket or the purple sweater, hoodie. Post-apocalyptic kind of sand environment, I would desaturate just a little bit more to make it look a little bit more sandy. But good job with the reflections. I'm not sure what the nearby light source is, but as I just showed you guys, under light source in a metallic surface, we desaturate. We desaturate along metallic surfaces. Even if the metallic surface, as long as it has a reflectivity, it's reflecting the nature, the natural nature of the light source's ID. Yo, turn that off. I don't want to hear myself. You have some outlines. You need to start replacing these lines with edges. But good work. All right, let's go to this one. A couple issues with this one. This looks like breasts. Just in the wrong time you had this silhouette happen. It just looks like boobs. So what I would do is I would get some more of this pattern here. It also looks like she has a little bra, a bra bow. So I'm just gonna make some random texture happen just around here. just so we have, I'm just covering that up with some more anatomy, robot anatomy, so we don't have that silhouette of the breast. It's supposed to be a child, so just as long as we don't have that awkward looking large double D breast happening. Okay, so I'm just going to make this look like some kind of pipe. Okay, so for this one, it's kind of looking like an older girl for some reason. The thickness of the neck isn't helping her look old, or look young. It's making her look old, so a thinner neck. Remember, kids can't really keep their heads up, so they have a tiny little neck, really undeveloped neck muscles. What I can't wait for is the next Blade Runner movie, which is probably gonna suck. They always do, but I can't wait to see the concept art. But yeah, as artists, go out there, go watch movies. Moviegoers, go to movies and look for those concept art heavy movies, so you can pick up on what's being used out there and what's not. So this cheek right here is more of a toddler cheek, but this can walk. But so maybe making it look a little bit more like an older girl, less heavy on the cheek part. The lips are a little bit big, so we shrink those for a baby face. Give the button nose a little bit more of a button. Tuck away this far eye behind the bone structure of the eyebrow. And that'll kind of look a little less forced of an age. And then you can bring back that same cute kind of dimpling. Maybe shorter on the body, which is looking a little bit long. Kind of looks like a kid with their blanket. I like the military kind of helmet. That's a bit too large. It would be much bigger than that because you're using it for scale right now, and I think it would look much bigger than that. It would look huge on the kid. Maybe half of their head is hidden. It would just be like a big umbrella, because we're talking about a toddler size. So it would be much bigger if this was a full adult helmet. Unless it was made for kids, it would be this big if it was an adult's helmet. And if you are doing that, then we would have a cast shadow right off all of this. Just like this. And then blur that. Oops. Blur that cast shadow. And if you had a glow coming out of those eyes, now's the time to do it. Color yellow. Just mess around with it. What kind of color would suit this best? I think that green color is pretty cool. It's breaking that mono or that analogous kind of monochromatic. If you bring in some kind of color, or just color around this part. Okay, so something a little bit more colorful, and then desaturate around here, and then saturate back to where we are trying to make a point. So desaturating everywhere else, but god damn it, where is it? Saturating around the shoes, saturating the ribbon, anywhere else where you have cute little, so maybe getting some of that pink. So some of the face that the original robot had in its like healthy, fresh state probably had a lot of this blush. It was a doll, so it was probably a companion sibling kind of deal. I don't like the green. Maybe blue would be a little bit more cute, like a baby blue. So that's kind of helping. And then of course, the same old problem. No one is reflecting the nearby light environment. We have all of this white, all of these values, and no one is reflecting the light environment nearby. Nobody is thinking about the sun, yet the sun is the exact reason why we're seeing all of this, why any of this is possible. Why, guys? Why? So we need some reflection. You have all this reflection that you're showing off right here. You got this reflection. Not sure why that's there. Make the background sandy. Don't just have patches of sand. They're reading as something else. Eyes look a little bit shocked. I'm not really sure what to do with them. And this looks like it's this looks like it's glowing. And then of course the background color is too dark. Okay, so let's look at the before and after. You'll see what I mean with that corset breast thing. Looked like a very, see that oversized cheek? Okay, the long body, the undersized helmet, the lack of cast shadow. I would make it look even more of a cast shadow. Make it even darker. To make it look more mysterious, and out of that just make that super glow. And just wash away some of that pupil and iris to make it look a little bit more mechanical. Maybe have some of that blue reflecting on the helmet because it's a very strong light source. And now you have another light source in all of this selectively placed in a really great spot. Before, see that booby? After. I think you need some expression. They do look like horrified little children who don't really have parents anymore, but making a nice little expression might help. Just add like a, I don't know, personality. It's your choice. Okay, so that's done. Good luck with your corrections. Then we have these. Okay, so more reflectivity issues. All of these seem like they're ghosts because they're so blending into the background. The background, they should not have the same specularity level as objects in the background. A lot of you had issues figuring out how to make something look reflective. So a lot of you have lots of texture studies ahead of you. Lots and lots of texture studies. Many of you found out that you had an issue illustrating reflective stuff, and that's why robots have been avoided for so long. Nobody really wants to draw robots because drawing reflective material is too hard. It's not. I just showed you. You reflect the exact color of the light source and you build up a really, really sharp mirror-like reflection. And you reflect the nearby environment. So this is kind of not blending in. This dude right here should be reflecting the sunlight. Look at that sharp cast shadow coming off of him. All of that catches the sunlight. And you just follow the trail of the sunlight down. The fabric is a little bit off. Wouldn't really bend that way or fold that way. Try to go for more of a cell shaded fabric colors. This cast shadow that's really sharp should be used everywhere else. So you've got a sharp cast shadow there. More areas like these mechanics here should have been reflective. His gun. A lot of you are missing out on that reflectivity, reflecting the nearby environment. And you guys, a lot of you don't have a visual library for texture. And that comes out of form studies. An advanced form study is a texture study where you're drawing the form and its micro texture, its surface texture. So I'm desaturating as well because it's a mirror reflection. A mirror has no business offering its color to the reflection of the light source, only slightly. It just reflects. It just shows the picture of the light source and everything that it is, and it reflects it right back. And if the mirror is blue, then pure blue, like solid blue mirror, then it reflects a blue color back. But if it's a non-colored metallic surface, it'll just reflect slightly some of its color if it has any. Okay, so it looks a little bit more reflective now, and we've got this secondary diffuse here. This part of the helmet, of the head, should have just been blending into the background. All of this is exposed to the light source. Okay. Alright, so the light source's value could have been used over here on the fabric. Just a little bit. And this is what you guys need, more sunlight. The texture here is more prevalent than the reflection of the light source. So we just need to see more of that light source reflecting back. Just find the highest point and just do some organic form studies and just boost the saturation, the contrast and the reflectivity. That's really how you make something look reflective. And this guy could have been getting some of her colors. Maybe this guy also. He's reflective all around, so any nearby light source gets reflected. Okay. Before, after. If they were glowing and it was nighttime and you were trying to show more of the eye glow than anything else, then you should have made the background darker. But that background was light and you had a sharp cast shadow. It means there was a sun nearby. For this little, I'm not sure if this is a sticker or if it's carved in, but you'd need to show where the light is. The resolution is too low for me to do anything. And then this one, if we were to just erase this, it would just look like any old robot. Okay, it would just look like any old robot. The head was the only thing you had that was kind of making this work. So you had post-apocalyptic, you had deteriorated, you had functional, but the silhouette, it's not so recognizable as human, probably just some sort of mech, and you didn't have any child proportions. And it's child post-apocalyptic robot AI, so it was a really big part. So at this point, you might as well just take out the head of the baby and put something else. Or just finish the design by adding some kind of robot head like that. Because it's so outside of the design, you might as well just like add some sort of non-human surface. And some sort of like aiming predator type doohickey right over here. Okay, so if it was supposed to be for a child, I would shrink the legs. If it was supposed to be some sort of child mech, I would shrink the legs. Maybe it's like a some sort of like so it'd start off with like that child silhouette, and it's just like the baby holding like this big RPG or something, and it has its armor. And it's got this some sort of system here for the missing leg, and it's got the leg that's still working. It's got these massive boots. And then if it had any kind of helmet or any kind of mic, I'll just add that in there. Decide where the... So this is what your silhouettes should have looked like. You're experimenting with this. If this silhouette was approved, something about it didn't really work. and you kind of just ignored that fact and you just kept rendering it. If they did have like this super big gun, it would make them look very, very small. I might do one more Magical Companion critique hour on the 20th, if I feel like it. But this is pretty much done for today. So thank you everyone for posting your art. All of these look amazing. You guys did wonderful. I can't believe how many people participated this time around. So many people voted. So many people participated. Let's take one more look at the Djinn companions as well. So some amazing posts. Well, these were my paint-overs as well. But you guys did amazing. Everyone who participated did such a wonderful job. Very imaginative. I love seeing how you guys interpret the going to be a landscape with some characters in it. And I'm going to be working on the resource pack. I might post it for my off time during surgery. So I probably have to take 2 weeks off for my upcoming surgery in July. I might just have you guys vote before that and work on it in that time period so that I have you guys working on something on my time off. That would be a little nicer than me just completely disappearing. I hate vacations. You guys know this already. I have a really hard time sitting there doing nothing. I won't be allowed to work out for both surgeries too, which is going to kill me. It's just going to be the death of me. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think about the whole conversation with a dragon thing, but it's going to be a little similar to Wizard of Earthsea when Ged is talking to Yavad, or something very, very similar to the malicious kind of mean dragons you can see in Reign of Fire, or the dragons in the Harry Potter series. I want you guys to think about lizard anatomy, different kinds of dragons. You can go for the wyvern, you can go for the full dragon or the worm. And it's just going to be something like a low bird's eye view of a character talking to a dragon. The character could be a wizard, it could be a female, it could be a tank, it could be an enchantress, it could be another dragon talking to a bigger dragon, it could be a weird little mushroom hero talking to the dragon, but it's a quest, and a lot of people are going to it's going to be it's going to appeal to a lot of different art styles, basically. You can make it a cartoony panel, like cel shaded landscape of a conversation with a dragon. You can go full out and try to render every damn tree leaf if you want to, though you shouldn't. But that's what's going to be the next up challenge. I don't know how I'm going to make you guys vote for or against certain topics, but I do want a landscape, and I do want something more creature design with character aspects. So that's a lot. Landscape, creature design, and a character design. And that's going to be the conversation with a dragon. It could be the dragon is on a mountaintop, and it's kind of like camouflaged into the mountaintop with a character on a cliff. It could be a dragon underwater, and we're looking at it bird's eye. And just like Ged, he's on a boat, and he's talking to a dragon that's underwater. It could be anything you want, but it's supposed to be a conversation with a dragon. So they're supposed to look like they both think they have the upper hand of the conversation. They're supposed to use a lot of language, body language. That's going to be a criteria. You can start sketching for it now. I've pretty much just briefed you on it now. Everything else after this will be just detailed description. But if you want to participate, get started as soon as possible. It would probably be due on the day that I'm back. I'm not sure if I should do a 2-hour kind of critique hour the day I'm back, but I don't know. I might lengthen it just a little bit more, but get started on it now if you want. Do some landscape thumbs of a conversation with a dragon. I'll make a post about it very, very soon with the resource pack and the specifics. Not a you shall not pass scene. No, not so much that. It's not like a gatekeeper dragon. It's just a character looking for information. I'll give you the description soon. I'll write it up. But a character looking for information, and the dragon is very selfish and greedy and doesn't want to give out the information. So the wizard or the character or the swordswoman, whatever, whoever's talking to the dragon is going to be trying to persuade the dragon. You have to show that in the illustration. Someone is trying to appease to the vanity of the dragon to get information out of them. So it could be someone holding up a gem and the gem is glowing in the dragon's eyes and they're like, hey, I'll give you this to eat. You know, this is a funny, yummy little snack, but as long as you give me the information. So you could be drawing like a girl who's holding back the gem, but the dragon's licking its mouth, and in its eyes we can see the reflection of the gem it wants to eat. It could be something the way we see Bilbo talking to Smaug, it's just a big dangerous thing and a small tiny little person. Something like that. So I'll let you guys go. Good luck with your sketches. Thank you for everyone who participated. You guys are wonderful. If you want to join this class, if you want to join the community, you don't know how, please stay around for the end of the videos. You guys ask me questions and all the answers are there in my videos. I think you guys just close it when I start talking about, people just leave when I'm ready to, like, you know, close up shop. Anyway, if you want to join the class, go to estherback.com, click on the Google Plus icon, and just post. Remember to read. You can join. It's open to the public, but please remember to read the rules. My mods are always on the filters, moderating away and deleting stuff that does not follow the rules. If you're interested in any brushes, everything is available on the store. We do have a massive update coming up for Portrait Studio. For anyone who's curious, you will, if you bought it, get a free update. Don't worry. You'll get your update when it's out. You'll know because it'll start patching. Your program will start patching the next time you open it. I'll let you guys go. Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.